Hello there and welcome back. Now today is the game console review you have all been waiting for. And is it a review of the Sony PlayStation? No. It's a review of the Sega Saturn. Now I gotta tell you something. The Sega Saturn is released in 1994 in Japan, and it was also released in North America and Europe a year later. The Sega Saturn was popular in Japan, but in North America and Europe, I think, it wasn't as popular. Because when it first came out in North America, there was a weird advertisement that supported it. Seriously. Go look up the Sega Saturn advertisement on Google, and you'll see what I mean. And even though it had like a weird commercial that supported it when it first came out, it was not a bad system. It had like two Hitachi 32-bit processors. And of course, it also was capable of playing video CDs, and that was kind of cool, because if you want to buy like a video CD from eBay or any other site, you're gonna have to get a Sega Saturn to play them. Unless if you live somewhere in Asia, I think. Because like video CDs are more popular in Asia than they were in North America. Alright, so I definitely do have two games. I mean two working Sega Saturn games to demonstrate it. It does come with one controller, but it's not the original Sega Saturn controller. It's a third-party controller called the SuperPad 8, and I also think that they made a version for it for the Sega Genesis. So, let's review the game system. Well, the first game we're going to review is Daytona USA. And of course, it's a Sega Saturn port of the arcade classic Daytona USA, and was also released on the PC, I think. Well, let's review it. And here's the intro. Basically just shows a demo of cars racing around, just like in any other arcade racing game. And also the soundtrack is pretty good. Press that start button and get into the game! So you got 4 different modes: arcade mode, Saturn mode, ranking, and of course, options. Let's go for arcade mode.
Please select a race course.
Alright, so basically you got 3 courses to choose from. Beginner, which is a oval racetrack; Advanced, which is a road course; and Expert, which is a city-based racetrack.
Beginner.
Let's select beginner.
Please choose manual or automatic transmission.
And you got 2 different transmissions to to choose from, automatic or manual. Manual's faster, but automatic's easier to use. Let's choose automatic. Gentlemen, start your engines. And yeah, that's basically typical in NASCAR races. They always say that whenever they start the race. And we're off! So, basically, the objective of the game is to win the race by going in first place or achieve a high enough position in order to get a high enough score. Simple as that. And I also forgot to mention that the Sega Saturn version of Daytona USA has a slower frame rate compared to the arcade version. Well, I'm not an expert at frame rates, and at this point, I don't care either. But it does a damn good job of emulating the style of Daytona USA, and I think it's one of the Sega Saturn classics. It's definitely a good game to go out with if you want to buy a Sega Saturn. That's all I have to say. Simple as that. I give this game a rating of a 7 out of 10. It's good, but the frame rate is slow compared to the arcade version. As I said before, I'm not an expert in frame rates. And the second and final game we're gonna review is Impact Racing. And for those of you who are unfamiliar, Impact Racing is a racing game where instead of trying to go into first place to win a race or competing for the best time, this racing game is all about trying to shoot down a specific number of cars. And of course, there are bonus stages for weapon upgrades, which makes the game fun and enjoyable, and it's also one of the most underlooked of the Sega Saturn classics, but it was also released on the PlayStation. So, let's take a look at Impact Racing! Apparently this game is made by a game company called Funcom Dublin and JVC. And it's also interesting to know that there's not too many information about this game, which brings more mystery to it. And there's not even a page for it on Wikipedia. And that's to show you how obscure this game is. So, basically you see this yellow Dodge Viper in the intro, and you must have been wondering, wow, do I get to drive one of them in the game? Well, the answer is, of course you do. Then it shows the name of the game in an awesome way. You just know that this game does not bullshit around. Yeah. And then of course here is a loading screen. And this was a problem that existed in many early CD-based consoles. They always take a long time to load. But grab a can of Coke and just be patient, because patience is the name of the game, man. Let's play this game. Basically, you can either start a new game or continue your save game. And there's also a password feature in this game too. So basically, you got many different cars to choose from. You got the Tatsumi AR-12, the Ashbourne X-14, the Unitech Incinerator, the Jordache Beer, and of course the Dante Destroyer. Let's choose the Jordache Beer because it's the fastest of all the cars in this game. And of course, you get to enter in a name as well. Which is probably a common feature found in a lot of video games. And here we go into the game. Now, the objective of this racing game is not to win the race by going into first place, or getting a good enough position in order to get a high score, or competing for the best time. It's to shoot down as many cars as you can in order to progress to the bonus stage, where you can get weapon upgrades, and that makes the game satisfying and fun. Sounds like the intro of Ashen's Tech Dump. Well, the voice itself sounds similar. Basically, you start with a basic laser gun and of course some landmines, but you compete in bonus stages to get more weapons on the way. That's kind of cool, isn't it? And here's that Ashen's Tech Dump voice again. Impact Racing is a mindless but fun racing game. It has a fresh new idea. I give it an 8 out of 10. So in conclusion, the Sega Saturn is a pretty good gaming console to go out with. And if you already have a Nintendo 64 and a PlayStation, and you want to get another gaming console that came out in the mid-90s, I recommend you to buy the Sega Saturn. But still, nonetheless, I prefer you to buy the PlayStation or the Nintendo 64 just because they're cheaper and they have more games on it. So, that's my review on the Sega Saturn, and I'll see you later.